Hey everyone, welcome back to High Energy Podcast. My name's Esteban. I'm so happy you are here and you are back for another episode. This one we're talking about storytelling and culture and activism and community building. And we are here with someone who is a dear friend and someone I genuinely and deeply admire for all of their work, all of the way that they have found to transform culture. And I know she's already blushing, but I'm so excited to talk to. This is one of the co-founders of the Hollywood Climate Summit. We're going to talk a lot about Hollywood Climate Summit, just like Hollywood in general, how it plays a role in the climate fight. So please welcome to High Energy, Allison Biegelman. Woo!
We got to start with high energy.
Yeah, bring high energy.
Woo, woo, woo.
High energy. Allison, I'm so happy you're here.
Me too. This is fun.
You and I met through you doing the Hollywood Climate Summit, which, like, if someone doesn't know Hollywood Climate Summit, what's like the elevator pitch? We can pretend we're in an elevator and I can even pitch it with you.
Yeah,
you and
okay, let's pitch it together. Well, okay, because there's Hollywood Climate Summit, there's the conference, right? Which is like, we do it every year. Now we do it with the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. You host
like
it.
The Oscars.
Yeah, that's the Oscar
building.
Organization, for anyone who's not
Shout out
interested. Oscar. Shout out to Oscar. Who is Oscar, by the way? I need to know more about the history of that.
I assume the
No, yeah,
statues.
but like, who is it? It's definitely after someone.
Yeah,
there's
right.
a lot there that I need to... I hope that the Academy's not mad that I don't know that.
Yeah.
Anyway, they probably don't care. Let's move on. So there's the event, which is obviously this epicenter of community and speakers who are sort of high energy. Oh, wow.
Oh, like the podcast?
Yes, like the podcast. It's entertainment forward. It's fun. There's, plant-based food. We tried to make it feel like a party, but it's a conference, obviously, with speakers and panels and programming and workshops, but really bringing together entertainment leaders, climate folks, nonprofit, philanthropy. But we also have other sectors that come.
Yeah.
So, we just actually did the report for this past year. So we had like gamers, game designers, executives from many different sectors. We had social media creators and social media professionals. There are people that, work in that space.
Yeah.
Marketing, advertising. Yeah.
It's to me, it's like a multiple day event for like storytelling, culture, media. Anyone remotely in that world is there.
Yeah, exactly.
And it feels so, it's like speakers you've had are literally some of the biggest names in Hollywood, from like, it's like, I love Abbott, but it's like from Quinta Brunson, from Abbott Elementary to Jane Fonda, of course, she's everywhere, to like people from the new Jurassic Park movie, from
Grey's
people from Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, we had some good folks this year too.
You got the Daniels who won the Oscar. Speaking of Oscar, one day we'll find out who you are,
yeah,
Oscar.
Who are you?
But the year weeks after they won an Oscar, they came to the
that
Hollywood
was
Climate
wild.
Summit.
It's all about timing. And they're amazing. And they're so focused on like the systems behind. It's always cool to you get cool people on a panel, but then you actually get to understand like the mechanics of their brains and how they work and their writing. And you're like, oh, you're really thinking about this on a macro scale.
Yeah.
Like, how do we showcase this?
It's
movement?
So good.
Yeah. So anyway.
So one part is the summit, one part is the conference, and you're saying there's other parts.
So, we've now expanded into a full organization. We're a small team, but we have some full-time folks. And what we're doing is really focusing on like, okay, how can we create a cross-sector community around this? So obviously we come from entertainment. My background's in entertainment and community organizing. And, for me, it's really important that we honor the community that we came from. And so TV and film and traditional TV and film will always be important. But now that sector is not just TV and film anymore, right? Like technology, gaming, music, all of these industries, advertising are very pivotal to the future of television and film, especially as it's contracting. So we're trying to think logistically about how the industry is going to grow and how climate is part of that, right? And how we need to be communicating climate across all these different sectors. And there needs to be some sort of collective strategy around how we're doing it, right? Because, conservatives have been doing that for many years. And I think we can learn a lot from how they have percolated and sort of put out their messaging across all these different platforms. And climate needs to be that, and in a very bipartisan way, obviously.
Yeah.
But the media sector needs to be educated on how to do that and needs to build relationships with each other in order to be able to do that. So we're thinking about it on a larger scale now.
Yeah. When you think about like bringing people together, maybe organizing this way, is that often like, are you saying, hey, here's some like here's tools, here's community, here's ideas for best practices, or is it like a mix of everything?
Sure. That's a good question. I mean, look, every year we get like, for the actual event, we get like 50% new people that come, which is great because
Yeah.
I love when people come that don't know anything about climate, because there are a lot of like introductory moments for that. Like, having a Grey's Anatomy panel or having a Jurassic Park panel, you can connect to that in some way because you've heard of it. And then you can learn about climate and health, or you can learn about paleontology and science and how that connects to the film and then to you, right? So I think for us, we're always thinking about windows in, and the panels help, the programming helps with that, and the speakers we get. But then the food is a big part of it too, right? Like we have a really robust like plant-based program that's run by Chris Tucker, who's our amazing director of culinary for that event and all the other sort of programming we do throughout the year at like Sundance, and really trying to think more about like how to create these communities in other places for other collectives that are doing the work, and give them support. But yeah, so the food, the people, it really is kind of like very crowded during the meal times, especially. And you can there's a lot of opportunity to connect with new people. So yeah, I would say that's kind of the vibe.
Yeah. Was there, I'm so curious for like the origin story. Obviously part of it is you
Mm.
being there and like kind of practical, but even before then, like, was there a movie or TV show or something like that that had climate themes in it when you were a kid that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like being shaped by this?
No. I honestly,
Nope.
I want to
Next
connect to the
question.
everyday person because I didn't know a lot about climate, honestly. And the reason we ended up starting this, I won't get too much into the backstory of like how I started doing this work in Hollywood, but I did have this sort of movement that was building that I was part of called Young Entertainment Activists. And in doing that, we were like bringing young professionals together and bringing together nonprofit folks in Los Angeles. And we would like literally bring together like a celebrity and a social justice leader in a backyard of a big producer who just like allowed us to do this. We had like 150 people, and we would poll them every time. It would be different issues across, all types of like messaging, homelessness. We focus on a lot of things. And no one knew anything about climate, like in this community of like
Interesting.
young professionals, people working for huge celebrities or producers or in the impact sector. And so that's how we were like, okay, well, climate's clearly a whole. And we started to do some research on what was happening in entertainment around climate. And there's stuff happening. There have been people doing this work for a long time, incredible leaders that we have learned from. But the knowledge was not being like disseminated or democratized in a way where it was accessible to all types of professionals. And so that's why we started the summit. We were like, let's make it free. Let's make it, it was online because of COVID. And we did this full day of programming, bringing in all these partners and speakers. And yeah, I mean, we had like 15,000 people watch it that day, which was great because we didn't even have a following at that point.
That's amazing. Okay, Allison, we've been talking a lot about storytelling. And storytelling, I think, is one of those words that is so big.
Yeah.
Sometimes like unimaginably big. How would you like define storytelling, think about storytelling? And I would say particularly the work you're doing and also maybe like at large, how do we even think about that?
Right. So I think throughout our conversation, I've really tried to ground what storytelling is in case you're someone who wants to learn about storytelling and, you work in finance or you work in of course, anyone can be a storyteller at any time and everyone needs to disseminate information. So let's put that over there, right?
Perfect.
I think the Hollywood Climate Summit was ultimately created for people who are doing this every day with platforms. And your platform could be 1,000 people that follow you on Instagram and you're consistently talking about forests and you're being funny and you're a comedian that talks about forests. I'm just giving you an example. So like social media creators, you have a YouTube channel, like we talked about Rollie, but also people who are executives that are pushing forward different types of content, TV shows, films, maybe social media. There's a lot of social media series that are coming out. So digital media, right? Like those types of people should understand how to tell a climate story or to talk about climate within their content in a way that makes the story more entertaining and fun, but also, gives real information. So I would say, yeah, media executives, actors, right? Thinking about, what does it mean to live through specific climate disasters, right? Like, what does it mean? What happened post Katrina and what was it like to live there afterwards? Like really thinking about those different types of entry points. And then, of course, like if I work in gaming, we're working right now with a big organization to try to help communicate climate within games. And games are a huge billion-dollar industry, So I think for me, it's like there are so many different entry points. Also, if I work in marketing and advertising, right? Like I should understand basic elements of climate and how different people are talking about climate within ads and what's, best practices. Also, sustainable production is something we cover within the summit, right? So if you are creating content in any way, like how to do it sustainably, and there's so many experts that focus on just that specific sector. Like it's such a big ecosystem, right? Does that
that
feel
makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like you're focusing on storytelling with reach, right? Yeah, what you're saying, like these media makers and that whole ecosystem, people who tell those stories, particularly like film, TV, social media, gaming, like some of those media moments. And the good news is that lessons from there can be applied to anyone.
Right.
So like it's designed for that. But the gift of learning to tell a good story and recognizing what makes a movie compelling and what makes a movie a good movie is like also applicable in your everyday life, even if you're like an activist wanting to tell a better story of like the work that you are doing.
Right.
And you go, oh, I'm not really, whatever in media. It's like, oh, well, there's still lessons there.
There's lessons.
Yeah, there. Lessons from the kind of like the greatest storytellers telling stories at the largest scale. Like those people are going to have really interesting thoughts on story.
Right.
And this is what's so cool is that you're bringing those storytellers and then being like, let's talk about climate storytelling. Let's talk about climate in your work.
And also it's like with marketing and advertising folks, it's like, okay, well, these stories are being created. How do we get them to the places that need to experience them? Right.
Yeah.
Like one of the most important parts of storytelling is the actual like marketing and distribution, because if no one sees it, maybe it changed you and that's great. But like, it's really important to figure out that aspect as well. So I think storytelling as like an industry, as like an ecosystem, there are so many different people that play different roles within storytelling in different sectors. And I think obviously we can't do everything. And there's so many specific organizations like the Music Sustainability Alliance. They focus on music sustainability. Like that's great. There's a whole ecosystem of people who are focused on this. And we want to be this nexus where you can come and then like get really excited and curious about one specific area.
Yeah. I feel like there's also an encouragement if people are listening and watching to be like, hey, whatever you're doing, there can be an intersection with that in climate.
Exactly.
Right. Like a Hollywood Climate Summit feels obviously unnecessary. And to someone might be like, are those two connected?
Exactly.
But I think that's the cool thing of like, wherever you're at, if you're like, make chairs, you can be like furniture climate summit. And someone would be like, what? And you'd be like, actually, that makes so much sense because this chair should be good to the earth and good to the people, that made it or whatever.
Yeah, chairs should be good.
Chairs, and I'm running for president on that.
I think told you?
Chairs should be
That's a great
good.
platform. Do you need a manager?
Yeah, it's a lot of sitting.
Okay. Yeah, that's not for me. I have a bad back.
No, but that's why we're doing good chairs.
Okay, great.
If someone is not, we're loosely defining as like a storyteller. But I believe people listening probably aren't storytellers, such a big word that like I would in fact encourage everyone to view themselves as a storyteller.
Yeah.
But let's say someone's listening and they go, Hollywood Climate Summit, wow, sounds cool, but I am someone involved with like making public transit better. I'm building a walkable neighborhood where I live in Mar Vista, like, and they feel maybe separate from some of the Hollywood conversation. How would you? My thought is, I think they would still love it. Something like that, or like some of these ideas. How would you speak to someone like that who goes, Allison, love what you're doing. I just don't know if any of that is really for me or up my alley.
Yeah. Well, I would say, forget the Hollywood of it all. Like, again, I explained that, we started in this sector because these are some of the best creators and creatives that, in terms of the way that they tell stories and they make maybe strange subjects really grounded and relatable and exciting and scary, right? Like, that's a great place to start. But at the end of the day, we're in a really big communication crisis as well. The things we saw it with the LA wildfires. I mean, obviously, I'm not an expert in what did or did not happen, but people were not getting information from the city, right? So to me, I'm like, okay, public transportation. When you think about LA, you think about cars and you think about things are really far away and public transportation isn't great. Like, things aren't connected in the way they are in New York, right? Like, that's like globally thought of because of the way it has been communicated, right? By people, by marketers, by car companies. Like, they want people to buy their product. And so for me, I'm like, okay, well, you want people to buy your public transportation, hopefully free public transportation. Great. You need to market it better. You need to communicate it better. And that starts on the local. It is well known that people identify with what their friends tell them. They're going to hear what you say and trust you because you are a trusted messenger. So you can communicate that to your neighborhood. You can bring people together, have a little party, charcuterie, have some like vegan cheeses. I'll plan it for you. And then you can explain to them, the reality of public transportation. I was going to take the metro today, and then I ended up having a coffee in Burbank, so I couldn't because I had to get here. But ultimately, we can all take the metro. So that's one piece, the local. Everyone has a local community that they can tap into and share stories and share information. Then there's your workplace, and maybe you work in communications at a big corporation. Like, you need to understand what's going on so that when there is an extreme weather event, when there is a climate disaster in your city, you can be able to communicate that to your employees, to your leadership. And then if you're a company that has a brand that is external, like, you have to communicate that outward and how you are reacting to it. Like, these are everyday things that you're going to need to be able to do. And like, if Hollywood is really educated on it and knows how to do it, and creatives are, you can learn, they can be training other people and putting their learnings and research outwards and their stories outwards. So you can just understand how to do it yourself.
Yeah. Is there something, I know this is a huge question.
Oh gosh.
But is there something from 6 years of learning about really brilliant storytellers? Like, if someone's like, "Ooh, love it. You're right. Storytelling, we are in this communication crisis." Like, are there a few tips or like a few pieces of advice that you would give to someone who wants to tell stories, recognizing, everything we do is storytelling about the climate crisis?
Yeah, I mean, make it simple. Like, it doesn't need to be complicated. I'll give a shout out to this organization, which I've been meaning to catch up with them. PowerLines, do you know them?
I don't think so.
All right, well, I'm going to catch up with them next week. But anyway, PowerLines, I talked to them. They're great. And one of the things they were talking about was utilities and how that every person pays utilities. Every single person in this country pays for utilities. And if you see your utility bills going up, that's affecting you. And there's so much you can do in terms of storytelling around that. Because it can just be like, oh, hey, like, I'm dealing with, I'm not making that much money right now. Or I just got laid off. That's like the plot of like so many films and stories. And then I'm struggling. I'm trying to figure out, my utility bill, like, what is this? Why is it so expensive? Probably because of energy crisis, probably because of climate change, and so all over the country, there are people fighting around energy and fighting around the utility bills. And so I just try to think about, like, what do you do every day? What do people around you do every day? And like, how can figuring out the connection between those things be funny, exciting, culturally relevant? That's what I would say.
In terms of that, I think keeping it simple and keeping it tangible is really good advice.
Yeah.
Is really good, thoughtful advice. Because I think there's so many crises happening now that feel intangible. I even think about science, right? It's like scientists and people are like, we're doing research on blank. And it's hard to connect the dots from like what is initially like the sneeze of a frog.
Yep.
14 years later leads to like a cure for a type of cancer. And
Yep.
you're like, but that's such a wild story to
Yeah,
tell. Of being
exactly.
like, well, frogs sneeze and then their mucus has blank. And then we studied that. And so I think
Exactly.
being like, okay, storytelling, simple, tangible, every day. How's your everyday life affected? How can your everyday life be improved?
Yeah. And like, to me, it's like, I think I'm thinking so much about the oceans right now and what's going on. And like, now is a great time if you live in Los Angeles to explore how to tell stories about the ocean, because there was so much pollution that ran off from the fires into the water that has been creating awful. Like, I would not go in the water. I mean, there are people that are going in. I would not go in, especially around the piers. I'm not making this up. Like, people can research and look at Heal the Bay and the work they're doing. There's so many organizations now that are being like inundated because of how polluted our waters are. And like, the beaches are such a mainstay of like, when you think about California, you think about like the sun and the palm trees and the beaches, right? And like, that isn't what it is to me anymore. I don't see it that way anymore because of what's happening. So I just think like oceans are so important to like getting carbon out of the air and like just like the whole ecosystem. And it's really hard to tell that story, even though that's such an important thing to know. So tell the story of you went to your favorite beach and you couldn't go in the water. Like, what's that story?
Yeah. Take your kids to the beach. You grew up going into the water. Your kids now.
You're a surfer.
Yeah.
I mean, surfers are big climate advocates because they know, because they're in the water.
Yeah.
Right.
They're in it.
But not everyone can be a surfer.
But everyone should. And that's what we're here to talk about.
I'm scared, but they should.
I went once and it was so exhausting.
Really?
I was
just the
sore
paddling?
For days. Yeah. The paddling.
Sure.
I just did this.
You got to do Pilates. They make you do it in Pilates.
Really? Surf related?
Well, they make you go like this on your stomach and you got to go. I'll bring you to a class.
Yeah, that's good. I think after Pilates, I think I'll be ready to surf.
I think so.
Allison, we have something really fun here, which is people submit questions.
Wait,
so these are listener questions, maybe people who know your work.
Whoa.
Maybe people who looked you up and want to ask you something.
Do you have their background? I want to know their full name, their middle names, their address.
No, they're anonymous. Actually, we have first names.
Okay, great.
So I'll give you first names. But after that, there's a very big code of anonymity that we give all the listeners.
Sure. Okay, that's fair. I respect you.
Because we want them to share their truths.
Okay. All right.
The first question is from Zoe, and that's all I'm giving you.
I love that name, by the way.
Who is a climate communication rock star that we need to keep our eyes out for?
Oh.
Who's someone that you think is communicating climate really well? I'd love to know, we mentioned some of like the big tentpole things, but I'd love to know like people maybe who aren't on like a big film screen. Like, who are you really excited about?
Oh my God. Why are you doing this to me?
Zoe did it.
Zoe, I'm sorry, but like these are like, I know so many.
I know. These are now have become your friends, I'm sure.
Yes. What do I do? Maybe there's a follow-up where I can like send you a big list.
Yeah, we can list some resources. We can list your...
I would probably say you if you weren't hosting the podcast.
How dare you?
But I won't say you because, Rasheda Crocket.
Yeah, Rasheda Crocket is
so
doing
funny.
Great things, like fun web series. I would say if someone is like new and they go, what is climate storytelling done differently? I would say Climate Town on YouTube.
Oh my God,
and
yes,
Rollie Williams.
for sure.
I think
Raleigh's
that
so
is a bunch of these people are like, we both know some climate communication rock stars, but Rollie Williams, I think, is the standard.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, obviously, there's some great social media creators who I follow. I mean, Alexis, Nikole, Nelson, Black Forge are so great.
Yeah.
She's really putting into context the way we live in the world and what is available in the world for us to, like, with our hands engage with. Leah Thomas.
Yeah.
Intersectional environmentalist. Kiana Kazemi is doing great work at the intersection of climate and tech and social media. I want to list everyone.
Okay, last question. It's from Kalia. If you were made the ultimate climate expert for movies and you were representing climate stuff on movies, what movie from the past would you love to fix something from? This is really fun.
Wow.
Okay, you're in a role. You're like the ultimate climate expert. You get to go back, change some movies, make them climate themed. What movie from the past?
Well,
Kalia.
Well, look, here's what I would do.
I can't wait.
Well, okay, because part of me is like, oh, well, like, what was like a fossil fuel propaganda film? But then I'm like, why don't we just do like The Little Mermaid or like Titanic? You know, these are films that everyone in the world has heard of in some capacity. They're being remade. You know, like let's do the ones that like are so part of public consciousness that like and just add little things that like, you know, maybe the Titanic. I mean, I hope that I don't know that much about the Titanic, but you know, the glacier is because of climate change.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
But climate change is kind of getting rid of some of those icebergs. So it's almost pro-Titanic.
Oh.
Like you watch the
right.
iceberg's the villain. You know what I mean? So
the glacier is the hero of the story.
So we would have to flip it and
That's
go,
awful.
the glacier saved their lives.
The glacier saved they all jumped
because and like the penguins came and saved them in their natural habitat because they're happy because the earth isn't warming. Yeah, this is a good brainstorm. It's a good brainstorm.
Good. This is like an animated series about glaciers saving people.
I think, that's why. Yeah.
Oh gosh! Wow,
that's
we just wrote a new movie.
Leo is into climate.
Because right.
Largely, his character was killed.
I know. I wonder if Leo has pitched this to them.
Yeah.
And said, let's make another Titanic where the glacier is the hero. And Leo is like an ice. He like is an ice. He uses like ice picks and climbs up glaciers.
Yeah. And saves Rose.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's like, get on my back.
Get on my back.
I'm
I was
the
like,
king of the
climb up this
world.
thing. Yeah. And he like, he trains everyone on the ship to climb the glacier.
Everyone's got like a disaster like preparedness kit.
Whoa.
Like, he's like, all right, everyone, remember, we've got these walkie-talkies.
Yeah, everyone has a walkie-talkie. Oh my gosh. Wow, that could be a new Titanic. Be really good.
Titanic, but they're like
I feel
very
moved.
Ready for disaster preparedness. I also love you said Little Mermaid, she's just singing and there's like plastic pollution.
Yeah, everywhere.
Part of your world.
Exactly, yeah.
I want to consume the way humans do. Single-use plastic.
And
throw
and compostable things that no one's composting.
Yeah, plastic's recyclable, right? They told me it was.
Yeah, I love it. A lot of just like, but that's like straight up like propaganda, but like good propaganda.
Yeah, it's a little too on the nose.
Yeah,
but
we'll
get there. Listen, Kalia just gave us this question. We're doing our best.
You just wrote a new movie. I think we might need to give her credit.
Yeah, Kalia.
Or some sort of back end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got 10% of new Titanic.
Yeah, reach out to us. We're accessible still.
Yeah.
Until we make this movie, we won't be accessible anymore.
And then after that.
Yeah, we won't have Instagrams anymore because we'll just be too famous.
My team will manage it.
Yeah.
Allison, we did it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, talking storytelling and culture and the intersection of climate and everything, and developing a very good Titanic script that I hope you work on. You send to Leo. I think it's just leodicaprio@gmail.com.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Can you imagine?
It probably is. Or like DiCaprio Leo.
Yeah. It's DiCaprio Leo. He's like, no one will see this coming. Thank you so much for being here. This was so fun. I always love hanging out. And I love just like having time to ask you questions and learn from you. I hope you did too, high energy listeners / viewers. And these questions were awesome. We love questions. Send them to highenergypodcast@SoCalRen.org. We promise we'll keep it anonymous. Okay. Thanks for sharing your insights. Thanks for listening. If you like this podcast, we love it. If you could subscribe, if you could share it with friends and family, if you could leave a review, boy, that'd be a hoot. We would love that. That is it. Thanks for listening to High Energy. Together, we can make a real difference. We'll see you next time.